Hi there, everybody, and welcome to Roll with Advantage. My name is Joe, and it is great to be here for episode 2 of DM Roundtable. We got a fun, cool topic planned for today. Favorite monsters and running monsters, not just in combat, but also running monsters in terms of roleplay or in terms of just being a force within the campaign itself, and maybe just running them in a singular combat. Like, some monsters fit in that specific niche. Not every monster needs to be the big bad evil guy, but we got to talk about this. Same as always, if you have any questions about any monsters we're talking about, or even if you need some advice on a monster that you're running in your campaign and you'd like to get a little bit of advice, we're more than happy to give that to you. We have 3 people here with almost 15 years of experience under our belt as a collective.
As a
collective.
Right? I have been DMing since I was 9. So,
20 years of experience under our belts.
Yeah.
I got like 2.
And I've got like 6. So we're varying degrees. But you know what? Experience doesn't make the DM. No, you know what does? Heart. And that's something that all 3 of us have a lot of. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. I think that what we should do is, I agree, Felicity. I think that what we should do is, we have a lot of options for where we can go. Each one of us have at least 2 monsters prepared that we can start talking about. And I think that we should live in the chaos of D&D, and we should use dice. Because I figured it out. So that's who's going to start out the conversation. So my 2 main monsters that I planned on talking about were the Rust Monster and the Rakshasha. I decided to do 2 R1s. I was originally going to do Rakshasha and Wraith, and then, because I'm stupid, and I was like, oh, Wraith starts with an R, because ruh. Anyway, so those are my 2, so that'll be 1 and 2. Evelyn, what are your 2 monsters?
My 2 monsters, I picked a boss monster and a horde monster. I have aboleths and I have gnolls.
All right, aboleths 3, gnolls 4, and Jonathan, what were your 2 monsters?
Well, if anyone knows me, I'm a big dragon person, so Ancient Red Dragon and vampires are my 2.
All right, 5 and 6. Okay, so we got our numbers. Here we go. Let's roll it. 5. So with that, you said, John, that would be, I believe, Ancient
Red Dragons.
Okay. Alrighty. So,
Nice.
John,
So where do we go from here?
well, now it's your turn to talk. So why don't you just give us,
You, buddy.
you just start talking about Ancient Red Dragons. What are their stats? What do they do? How do you use them? Ask us a question if you have one.
So first off,
make our
I've
brains
actually
work.
never ever used an Ancient Red Dragon,
Mm.
but goddamn are these things fucking sick. They're so cool. Like, you know,
So-
Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah.
it's in the name.
So
right?
you're an expert, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I played a Dragonborn, means I know
yeah.
dragons.
Yeah.
Exactly. Look, Ancient Red Dragons to me is one of the most menacing creatures in all of D&D. One of them. There's plenty. But if you were to throw an Ancient Red Dragon as your big bad evil guy at your party, it would be a huge fight. It would be an epic fight. It would be dope. To start off, this thing has 550 or 546 HP base with 22 armor. And it can fly 80 feet. And it's just, these things are, honestly, if you have like a party of level 15s, like 6 of them, they probably kick this thing's ass. But it's so cool. It's so cool. Obviously, legendary monster. They have legendary actions, legendary resistances, multi-attack, bites, claws. That's fine. You know, your bites coming in with like a 21 average piercing damage with 14 fire damage. Your claws coming in with a 17 on average. By the way, all of these are a plus 17 to hit.
So pretty guaranteed.
Yeah, it's most likely you're gonna roll the dice. You're gonna hit something. It's Frightful Presence, which is in 120 feet with a DC 21 Wisdom save, or else be frightened. But that's not the cool part. The cool part is the Fire Breath. Even though it recharges, it does an average of 91 damage, which is insane.
Woo!
With a 24 Dexterity saving throw.
Yeah, so that
Yeah. And on top of that, with their legendary actions, they can do a tail attack, wing attack. Red dragons, well, dragons in general for me are really cool creatures. Red dragons in particular, there's a lot of cool things you could do with them. They're just, to me, they're just a cool monster. It's just, you know, classic but so effective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. No,
I-
I'm a big fan
I
of
love me a
Ancient Red Dragons.
monster. I love me a monster with intelligence as well. You know, I love me a monster that is still a monster and, you know, down to fuck you up in a combat encounter, but also you can have a social encounter with, just an entire negotiation element with, and the way that villain can be built up over time because of that social element, I think is very, very, very cool.
Yeah, because doesn't like, of course, obviously with any DM you can change the rules and the lore behind a monster to fit your campaign and to fit your setting. But doesn't the player's handbook, or not player's handbook, the monster manual or Fizzbands, don't they give very specific directions for what most dragons like and what they want?
Yeah, actually they do.
So,
And-
John, could I ask you to oh shit.
Oh,
shit!
fuck.
Your boy's
He's
got the
real.
book. Oh,
I don't
I got
have
the book.
books.
tell us, John. And we can vamp for a little bit if you need it. But what do ancient red dragons like? That's what I like.
I'm pretty sure they like destruction. and
That's
gold,
what I
but
like.
Let's see.
They like Bruno Mars.
Also, funny thing, I actually never really I thought that all ancient dragons had the ability to shapeshift into a human form. Ancient red dragons don't.
Yeah, it's the metallic ones.
It's
right?
the metallic ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
which I changed when I did dragon stuff in a campaign
Me
a few
too.
years ago, because
because that's no fun. You know, you just sparse metallic dragons throughout your world as people. No, let the
No.
chromatic ones
No.
take power in places, and then all of a sudden they're dragons.
Yeah,
I can't find it. What the fuck?
Can't find it. That's tragic.
Hold on.
Oh,
there we go. Red dragon 133.
133. No, I love just the dichotomy, not just between chromatic and metallic, but also I love gemstone dragons too. But ancient red dragons, they're just like the dragon type. You know, whenever anybody thinks of dragons in any type of medium, it always ends up being the red dragons, the ones that are the fire breathers. I mean, that's what Smaug is at the end of the day.
So this one says red dragons love gold above all other precious metal. Yeah. So these guys, they just love gold. That's the whole thing about red dragons. They're very classic monster.
Classic.
Yeah.
They love gold.
It is nice to every once in a while. I feel like every campaign, at least once, deserves a classic monster. There's even a Matt Colville thing about it where he's talking about factions, and he says, like, every once in a while there needs to just be an enemy that there is no question that they are objectively bad.
Yeah.
And we can just go kill it, you know, and it doesn't affect any of the morality or politics of the game. It's just, this thing is evil.
And what better than an ancient red dragon? Like, they're quite literally there to be destructive, steal your gold, and like lord over things.
Yeah.
So like when a party goes to fight them and kills it, there is no like gray area. They're like, yeah, this thing's also it's on the stat block. It's chaotic evil. Like, this thing is evil. We got to kill it.
Very evil. Yeah, and think about it. You know, you can set up a really good recurring villain, not just with the ancient red dragon itself, but I mean with its offspring too. You could definitely do something with that, where you then choose. You're like, okay, you know what? I got it. We're gonna have a young dragon attack the party, just like out of nowhere. Like, it's a dragon hot off its heels. It's like, oh, I'm the fucking boss in town, and the party wipes the floor with it. They kill this young dragon, and then maybe 5 or 10 sessions later, ancient dragon shows up and like, what the fuck did you do? What did you do to my son and my daughter? You're gonna need to pay now. I don't care about them, but they could have made me money. You know, like you can really hit home the chaotic evil thing in that moment. And then you have a good either A or B or C villain for your campaign. Yeah. Right. The fact that 15% of the gold the party makes from now on, they have to send to that red dragon, or else the red dragon will attack them.
That's true.
And I think that's a really cool way to integrate.
I've never thought about that, about a red dragon being like a tax man.
I mean, if you want to go to the extreme, right? If you're like myself, just allow all ancient dragons to be able to shapeshift, because at that point, like, you know, they've been there for thousands of years or whatever. Whatever the timeline is in your world or whatever. I mean, you can have them be the head of a like noble house family.
Oh my god,
owns a whole town. And they're just using the town for gold. Like,
they have like a 65% tax rate on everything. It's just the worst place to live.
They could be a king of an entire continent.
And the people are just like, it's the only thing I've ever known, so I guess it's fine. Like, it's just
anyone that tries to move out is found in an urn the next day. They're gone.
Oh, quick side question real quick before we go forward. Gemma just said Kuatoa. How do we feel about Kuatoa? Okay, yeah.
Well, I really like Kuatoa. I love the worship element. It is equal parts kind of terrifying and very silly. And I love that in a monster. I mean, I really do think in D&D and in art in general, the line between comedy and horror is kind of thin sometimes.
Yeah.
And I really think there's a lot you could do with the idea of running into a cult of basically like carp people.
Not gonna lie, I had to look up what that was.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they're the fish people. Roll with advantage, which is definitely just Kayla said tabaxi. Not a monster. Sorry, we'll talk about that on a different day when we talk about races in D&D.
Right.
Yeah. However, that black cat is very handsome, and I'm sure that he would not be... Gemma, he might be the devourer of plastic, but he's like chaotic good, where he knows that devouring the plastic will kill him, but he's trying to save the environment. And that's why we love Sir Trouble of the Milk Moat. CR15, Paladin, Tabaxi.
CR15.
Trouble's
terrifying.
Trouble's beefy. He's a beefy boy. He's got at least 250 hit points. My dude can take a hit, I'm sure. Anyway, sorry, that was Red Dragons, ancient Red Dragons, the king of a continent, and taxes the peasantry an exorbitant amount. I think that's a fantastic campaign idea.
That is a fun flavor that I've never thought of.
Yeah, the goal is to overthrow the king. Okay, cool. You gather your allies in the first half of the campaign. You go to attack the king. You storm the castle. You get to the king, and the king's like, "Oh, this is fun. This has never happened before."
You storm the castle, and no one's there. Like all the guards are gone. You just walk in. It's just the king, and they're like, the whole party's like, "The fuck?" And there's like 20 of you. It's like, "Oh, okay.
You surrender.
I gotta fight you."
And then he's like, "Okay."
Also, if you are running a ancient red dragon rules as written, and you are a player in a game, here's how you can tell if an ancient red dragon is in the area based on their regional effects, which I think are pretty cool too.
Oh, the regional effects are very cool.
Yeah.
Small earthquakes are common within 6 miles of the dragon's lair.
Oh.
Water sources within a mile of the lair are supernaturally warm and tainted by sulfur. Rocky fissures within a mile of the dragon's lair form portals to the elemental plane of fire, allowing creatures of the elemental fire into the world to dwell nearby. That last one's kind of
That's
crazy.
Dope.
That's awesome.
That's dope. That's where your C villain comes from.
So you have A villain, the Dark One, B villain, Ancient Red Dragon, C villain, and Afridi that stumbled in to the material plane. It's like, what
D
the
villain, just a bunch of fire elementals.
E villain, corrupt politicians.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It writes itself. It really does.
It really does. All the layers are there for you. The sulfured water supply is also very interesting with this tax-hungry red dragon idea we've come up with too.
Oh my god.
Because if you follow the chain of logic, that red dragon basically becomes Immortan Joe from the newest Mad Max movie, where he can just have complete control of the water supply and give it to people like every day at 5 p.m. and be like, remember not to have too much because it makes you weak. Man.
Yeah.
We got a villain.
The Ancient Red Dragon, it writes itself, or if you want to lean into the greed, you could just, follow Nestle's lead and just make a bottled water company.
Shots.
And what is more evil than Nestle?
I'd like to think an ancient red dragon.
I don't know, honestly. I think an ancient red dragon would see what Nestle does and is like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Calm down.
Crazy.
It's your money the normal way. Burns a village.
Oh, yeah. Stop using this cute bunny. Make people fear you. Oh, my God.
Oh, man. It is better to be loved than to be feared, but it is better to be feared than none at all. I think that's a Machiavellian quote.
I want people to love me and be afraid of me. I want them to be afraid of how much they love me. Michael Scott, The Office.
I don't know.
Also good.
Yeah.
Also good.
Gemma did say that you could also flavor a red dragon in the same way that that the Lorax flavors like O'Hare, who sells bottled air instead of water.
Oh, yeah.
Let it die, let it die, let it shrivel
funny.
up and die. I think that's a great idea.
Well, I also, something
If
that's
you're looking-
really interesting to me
If you're looking for a more comedic
dragons,
villain. Yeah.
something that's interesting to me about dragons overall is that even the ones that are lawful good as written, like, when you're alive that long, and you're basically an alien species to the way that humanoid brains work, you know, even from chaotic evil all the way to lawful good across that whole spectrum, like, your sense of morality is going to be wildly different than any humanoid. And I think that's always been the most interesting part of any dragon to me. Like, the idea that in the same way that currently in my actual life, I'm in Chicago just to try it out for a few years, a dragon can become arch-wizard of a school and then completely change the political system that it works under for funsies. It's just like a thing
honestly.
That's called
do.
Strixhaven.
Yeah, it's just like this is how I want to pass, you know. Like, I have another dragon buddy from like 5 planes away in the chain of mirror planes, but we only get to see each other every 94 years. So to kill time in the meantime, I'm gonna just go live a mortal life, and then when that's done, I'll go meet him.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about dragons, and now we're kind of getting into the broad spectrum of just dragons in general.
And that's okay. That's okay. You know what, guys? I'm gonna commandeer the conversation here, and we're gonna talk about dragons today, because I realize now to start talking about ancient red dragons, we've scratched the surface, and it just sounds like fun to talk about dragons. And listen, this is a pie cut in 3 ways. All right, so you two can tell me to shove off and go to hell, and I can leave the tag as favorite monsters. But I'm having a good time talking about dragons.
Well, I wouldn't say it that harshly. I mean, well, okay, we can entertain this for a second here, for sure, if nothing else. I mean, let's drive the car till it runs out of gas. You know what I'm saying?
I was gonna. Yeah, I mean, look. So with dragons as a whole, like once you reach the ancient size, right? Like you're a very old, knowledgeable, powerful entity, right? And the way I've always run my ancient dragons, and I love putting them in my world and sparsing them throughout. Even if they're the good ones, even if they're like the gold one or the silver, there's still something about them that's like, I am better than you.
Yeah.
Like I might be in a human form and I might be helping you, but don't cross the line, because I'm an ancient fucking dragon and I will eat your face. Like, chill out. You know, I've had players like, with knowing that the person is an ancient dragon, I kind of push that. Like, no. Let me just look at the stat block over here, and let me look at your level 6. No. They're much more powerful than you are. And I love playing them like in this pompous air about them.
Yeah.
Even if they're good. And when they're bad, it's even better, because it's like, I don't care about you. Like, do what I say or you die.
Because I could see a metallic dragon approaching a situation like that and being like, listen, you're doing a great job, and I want you to succeed, but you gotta stop talking to me like that, because I don't want to have to hurt you, because you're doing good. I like when people do good. Yeah. You just need to stop being such an asshole. Please.
I've always been really compelled by this particular campaign hook, and Joe knows this one because I pitched it to him like a year and a half ago. But it's a lawful good dragon basically kidnaps the party. Like, that's how the campaign starts. And in their mind, what they're doing is for the betterment of the world as a whole, and they cannot be convinced otherwise.
Yeah.
They don't see taking a few years out of 5 people's lives to do heroic things as like why would he need to ask their permission for that, you know? Like, I'm making you into heroes, and I'm giving you the information and power you need in order to improve the world. Like, why aren't you grateful? You know?
Doesn't everybody want this? There are so many stories be happy. I'm giving it to you for like free. Like,
and I love the idea of it being, I forget if it's the silver or the bronze of the metallic, but I love the idea of the dragon that does that being the one that like studies people and like the ways of humanoids. And it's like, you can tell that they've been trying to comprehend how humanoids work for like 700 years, but there is something just fundamental missing from like this dragon's experience of life.
Yeah.
I think it's the silver ones. This might be talking out loud. I think it's the silver ones that are more logical. Or might be the gold ones. I know the bronze ones they love hearing themselves talk. I know that.
Yeah.
Because I actually modeled an NPC they were an ancient bronze dragon, and they were very like, listen to me, like listen to what I have to say, because I love hearing myself talk.
Was that the mayor of Hombafort?
No, it was
it Eldar?
Someone else.
Oh.
No one you've met.
Damn it.
And you will meet them because I love them so much as an NPC.
Is it Torin? Is it Torin the blacksmith?
No. Imagine I'm just like, Torin has reached his full potential. He would be a gold dragon.
Yeah, would he?
He's a gold dragonborn.
I know. It was a joke.
Oh, it was a joke. Okay, yeah, got me.
I actually have another dragon question that I think would be wonderful.
Yeah.
But before we do that, we do have to answer. Fel has wild magic here. Cue for later. If I were a monster, what monster would I be?
Flump.
Yeah, my instinct was Flump, honestly. I'm glad we're on the same page, John. I really was going to say Flump.
Man, I don't know. I don't know. Flump is like... I think that Felicity sometimes is a Flump.
Right. I don't think it's a perfect fit, but...
A what?
A what?
A Twinga.
A Twinga?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that
you
is.
Know what a Twinga is? Hold on. They were introduced in Icewind Dale, and I've used them once. They're basically these little tiny fey creatures that can give gifts and stuff, and they're super cute and super cool. But they're also really powerful. They're like, they can like do some shit if you like really fuck with them. They're basically like spirits. Let's see. It's in here somewhere, and I'll show you the picture, and you'll be like, "Oh, that's so cute." I said flump because it was funny. I don't actually think you're a flump.
I don't mean flump in a bad way. They're like a top 10 creature for me.
They are. They're very, very,
cool.
very cool. Yeah.
Here
we go.
Okay, I was gonna say boggle, but I misremembered what that is. Do not
Twinga.
Okay.
Twinga.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I'm gonna say right now, Felicity. I was gonna say Boggle. Don't look up the picture of Boggle. It's not the creature I had in my head. That's not what I. That's not what I
Boggle,
think of you.
dude.
That's not what I think of you at all. That's not. That's not it.
The Boggle. I know what the Boggle is.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of a different fey creature.
That's fucked up, dude.
I know. I am ashamed of my thoughts.
I looked up.
Yeah,
please,
everybody.
Everybody do yourself a favor and look up a boggle right now and realize that Evelyn said that Felicity's like a boggle.
I thought it, and then I was like, wait a minute, let me look this up first. I might be thinking of something else. And I actually, really was.
I actually like this question. We should do it for each of us too.
Yeah.
I feel like we're just, you're gonna have to change it up again, Joe, the title.
We can mostly talk about dragons, but deviate every once in a while.
I also want to get to the other monsters. I like y'all's monsters. I want to know about them because I don't know a lot about them. Man. I want to know about this guy.
Oh, I want to talk about the Rakshasha, but we'll see what happens. It's okay for us to vary it up a little bit.
Well, okay. What monster would each of us be?
I still haven't answered I need to come back to the Felicity one because there's one I have in my head, but I can't place it. And I gotta find it. But what monster would I be? I feel like part of me feels like I have to be some version of a giant.
Yeah. I think you're like a fire giant chieftain.
Like a storm.
Yeah. I just think storm.
They're just the baddest of them.
I was like, hey, thanks for giving me the extra 2 points to my strength, John. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Look, Look, I never want to face a storm giant.
I don't know. It
in
just,
D&D. Those things fucking suck, dude.
some days I
They
feel like a storm giant, but then other days I feel like a hill giant. Some days I don't feel too hot.
I'm this guy, the bone.
Boo! Oh, the bone claw's fucking gnarly, dude.
I don't know if I'd call you the Bone Claw. I think
I
that's
don't-
a little.
I'm realizing I don't know a lot of monsters.
I will say there's I don't know how to explain it, but there's this entire category of monsters in D&D that are the kind of monster that would be on like a biker, like the back of a biker gang's jacket. You know, and the Bone Claw is one of them, and it's a very niche thing. But there's like a lot of, there's like at least 10 monsters that are totally like back of biker gang jacket monsters, and I don't know what it is, but Bone Claw is one of those monsters that as soon as I see it, I start hearing like ZZ Top riffs in my head. You know? I'm like,
Honestly, the lore of a bone claw is kind of fucked up. It's like
yeah.
crazy, actually. If anyone knows about it,
Mm-hmm.
isn't it like a mage tried to become a lich and then they failed and then it created a bone claw
Mhm.
and then like it can't die unless something, I forget, but basically like follows you around and tries to kill you constantly.
Yeah, they're pretty.
I feel like I'm a grung.
Grung.
I don't know if you're. I don't know if you're a grung. Maybe John, do you know the Slad?
Yeah, if we're gonna go,
Yes.
if we're gonna go there,
I do know the Slad.
I really like the Slad. I fucks with the Slad. I really love the idea of them like having they can like enter you through your food as
Yeah.
like a
I
tiny
don't like how
tadpole
you
thing.
said that.
Well, you know,
I understand what you're talking about, but I don't like how you said that.
listen, I stopped talking about you and started talking about slads.
Okay, good. because
I really,
I don't enter through anyone's food. Just pointing that out.
yeah. No,
Okay.
I hope not.
all right, I think I found mine for Felicity. So I was looking. Felicity is a fae creature. I agree there, because she is. She likes to collect information. So that's why I think that, and this might be the Eloin influences, but I think a naiad, which is a water-based dryad that live in like rivers, and they specifically like to collect information from people traveling by the rivers, which is a bit more of a flattering image than a boggle. so
It is. You're right.
Take that as you will. That's where I'm at for that. Yeah, John, I can see
think
Slad.
you're,
I could see other things though.
I would like to correct though. I think more truthfully, I think you're one of the wares. I think that's what. Yeah, I could really see a were.
Isn't there like a were-bear?
Yeah,
There is a werebear.
I could see you as a werebear
Yeah.
for sure.
I don't know. Sometimes when John plays chivalry, he's a were-rat.
Yeah.
I don't like this question anymore.
No, okay. Let me answer this legitimately. Bless you, Kayla. She's watching Shutter Island right now. She can't hear me.
You can think about me. I don't know what I am at all. I can't even begin to.
Oh my goodness.
Think about what that is.
That is a hard one.
I think it would be Faye as well.
You think so?
I think
either Faye. I don't know. Sometimes Evelyn, I do get celestial vibes as well. Like
that is one of the highest compliments I've ever received.
Yeah, because
first of all,
you are so giving when it comes. Like if there is a celestial, and I'm sure there is one, that its specific gift is knowledge. Like I think that that's your that's your connection.
Right, Celestials 5e. Let's figure this out.
A boggle.
I'm the boggle.
Boggle.
It's only fair. I'll be the boggle.
Oh.
You know what? I fucking love coatls. and I've even written a novel recently that basically has a coatl in it, like a thing that's heavily based on the coatl. Yeah, the Mesoamerican winged serpent.
That was dope. I like
I
that
feel,
one.
I feel like I really identify with the.
Do you want to be this one?
Yeah, the long. Hell yeah. Tag yourself normal beasts at the appendix of the monster manual. Joe, I think you're yak.
Yeah,
yeah. They have a stat block for yak.
Hell yeah, I'm a yak.
The word is
sacks.
Okay.
Let's see.
Technically, I was thinking this guy actually for you, Evelyn. The Elder Tempest.
Oh, that's a spicy coatl right there.
So both of your images of me is a intelligent snake.
Welcome to Slytherin.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't mind it.
Slither claw.
Slither claw.
Honestly, I think I'm a Gauth. I'm just going through the book at this point.
Why? You have such a negative. You have such a negative view of yourself, Jonathan.
What?
Man.
What?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what? You know what you are, John. You're an ancient copper dragon. Because copper dragons specifically are like the comedians and jokesters of the dragons.
That's me.
And
I'll take it.
Yeah,
your intelligence should not be underestimated, but you lull people into a sense of security by seeming like an absolute dumbass most of the time.
Oh my god!
I'm glad we all know each other well enough for this question to have not gone terribly. Thank
you, Felicity, for this question.
Yeah.
We've really all insulted each other deeply, and I'm glad that that's.
I really liked that before this stream. We sat down for like 3-5 minutes. We're like, okay, this is like the format. We should do this, and we haven't done any of it, and it's been great.
Yeah, that's why these work best with no with no none of that.
Joe, how would you feel if you were a GIF?
A GIF?
Yeah.
Like a moving picture with no sound?
No.
Oh, the hippopotamus people?
This guy.
I do serve up vibes of GIF. I do think I'm more of a Loxodon man myself, though.
Yeah.
Also, McBoy Doodle, welcome.
McBoy Doodle, resub for
Prime's
one. Thank you for 1 year.
Oh my god.
Fucking homie.
Really keeping it alive, McBoy Doodle. Hell yeah.
Yeah, give us that sweet Jeff Bezos money.
If you're listening in the chat, type out what creature in D&D you think you would be.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Felicity, what monster do you think you are?
Yeah, not a boggle.
Swear to God, if she says a boggle. Honestly, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
Man.
So, dragons or move on? I think we move on. I think...
No, because I want
to dragons.
No, I want to talk about Gemstone Dragons. That's what I want to talk about because
those ones are dope.
Gotcha.
Gemstone Dragons are my favorite because we talk about like ancient dragons and we have about ancient dragons being Felicity, no, don't be so bad on yourself. You're not a boggle. All right.
I am gonna take this shame to my grave. I regret even informing anybody that I had a misunderstanding. Look at the damage I've done.
All right, yeah. So the Fey things that aren't boggles, that's she think. Gemma, a gelatinous cube or a toxic block.
Oh my god. I also think maybe
talk about self-esteem.
Evelyn, you're also this thing, the Kieran.
Oh, the celestial unicorn. This has gone too well for me. Really.
Yeah.
I'm
McBoy Doodle a goblin. That's interesting because goblins have such a negative, zeitgeist in the D&D community. But I like goblins.
Yeah.
I think that you can run a small goblin community in your game and actually have it be kind of fun and a little dorky. Because
you could go World of Warcraft with it. I don't know if anyone's played World of Warcraft, and I barely ever played it, but the whole Goblin community is just a bunch of New Yorkers.
Gemma knows this. I downloaded World of Warcraft on Friday when Kayla wasn't home because I was so bored, and I played the first 8 levels, and I said, nah.
That's me too.
I didn't miss anything by not playing this sooner.
Let's just out ourselves and talk about how World of Warcraft is not that great.
Anyway, Gemstone Dragons. Gemstone Dragons.
Take it away.
Gemstone Dragons. So, okay, this is what I was saying. Oh, wait a second. We have another thing from Mick. I DM'd a game a year ago with Ryan where I had a goblin NPC who swore he was a gnome and hated goblins so much. That is amazing that you say that, Mick. Because we had something very similar happen with Evan. Who in a previous campaign I ran, he played Nomi, the halfling paladin, where he tried to convince the party that he was a gnome, but he was actually a goblin in full plate armor and just never took his helmet off. And he, oh God, what was his voice? He was like, I'm Nomi, the halfling paladin. Like, that was his voice. Nomi was only around for 2 sessions. It was a good time.
He died tragically.
He did, actually.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. When vampires attacked a city, Nomi was one of the first to die. Because Evan was like, Joe, I'm not having fun. And I was like, do you care what happens to Nomi? And he was like, nah, I don't care. And I was like, all right.
Okay.
Okay.
I do think around the session 2 mark is when you're like, oh, I gotta stick with this.
Yeah.
You know? That's really...
That's why certain characters are one-shot characters. Okay. Gemstone Dragons. Sorry. This is what I was trying to say 70 minutes ago. Which, by the way, we're at the 1 hour mark, and I think that's hilarious.
Christ.
Yeah, we're at 50 minutes, but still. Dragons. Gemstone Dragons. You said earlier, Evelyn, that, like, ancient dragons are alien because of they live for so long, their worldview has been changed. And I think that Gemstone Dragons are even more alien than other ancient ones because they're connected to, like, astral magic and psionics and this, like, understanding of the universe beyond just the things that they can see and conjure, right? Because at least to me, psionics is the ability to, like, manipulate the universe and matter as opposed to being able to just, like, manipulate elements and conjure things and create things. Like, you're literally changing and bending the universe. And so when you understand how to do that, like, I hate to, not that I hate to do this, but, like, you know, the same thing happened in Doctor Strange, right? When Dr. Stephen Strange learns how to peer into the fucking astral projection and all of that, his worldview changes entirely. And how does that change again when you're a creature that can live for thousands of years and understand that stuff, and you have supreme power? Like, I suppose my question to the two of you is, like, when it comes to running a creature that alien and strange and odd, how would you do that in an effective way where they seem alien, but the party can still at least kind of understand them, so the story doesn't just fall flat, right? Because I think that's kind of the big thing with that. So I'd love to hear what y'all think, because I don't know.
I really love the concept of that as well, with the Gemstone Dragons. Mm-hmm. I also love that they're canonically, like, the neutral ones, because I think that fits with them being more of the earthly yet also astral witnessing ones. Mm-hmm. You know, it's sort of like what their response to that massive dose of perspective is to realize that their contribution is actually fairly small, you know, which I think it kind of makes them unique amongst the dragons, who all the other ones, pretty much good or evil, sort of see themselves as, like, the center of their world. So I think that's really interesting, and I really love the idea narratively, and I've certainly used it in things I've written, both in D&D and out, of humanoids gaining levels of empathy and awareness that they weren't like meant to, air quotes, sometimes in sort of an eldritch horror way and sometimes just in a sort of mystical way.
Yeah.
I think the Gemstone Dragons, what's really cool about them is they can be a ally, sort of a distant ally that you need to find or seek out. I think would be really interesting, and I almost don't want to talk too much about this, because I think some of this stuff I'm going to actually try to do in Thrall in my campaign a little bit from now, so with that sort of like expansion of understanding of the world and stuff like that, but I think what you could do with a Gemstone Dragon is kind of have them attempt to share that perspective in some way with their psionic abilities with the party, but their brain cannot comprehend it easily, so they need to go through something. And then that can kind of take whatever sort of strange mystical magic form you want. Like maybe in order to comprehend this, they like enter a psionic realm in which they need to complete some sort of challenge. Or maybe they like, the dragon takes them back in time to show them something.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Or makes them confront their own mind in order to open a gate within themselves. Or, like, I think shit like that to me is incredible in D&D to, like, play through.
Yeah.
And I think
that's really cool. You could have
a huge asset,
Yeah, you could have a situation like that where there is a mental affliction that one of the party members is experiencing, and like lesser restoration, greater restoration, heal, nothing's working. Where there is this sickness in not just their brain, like not just like a physical sickness, but there's something affecting their soul and their spirit. And the only way to solve that is to go into their soul and to like soul bond. And the only creatures that know how to do that are Gemstone Dragons. So you party, it's a side quest, right? We have to go to this mountain range. We have to go deep within the crystal mines there to find the crystal dragon. And then the crystal dragon, if we pay it with what it wants, it'll let us soul bond. And we can go into our friend's soul. And then you can have this fucking sick ass fucking thing that happens where you're inside somebody's soul and everything's different and the rules don't apply. Gravity, you can just fucking do what you want, and it's not even, you don't even need battle maps. You just say what you want to do, and it's shit. It's cool. Oh my god, I love that so much.
Well, I'm glad to have given you that moment.
Holy shit.
My answer.
What I will say,
I just had a Jimmy Neutron fucking brain blast, dude. Holy shit.
What I will say though is that your question was like how to portray them, and I didn't answer that at all. So on to you, John. How do you feel about this?
So I can't say too much about crystal dragons, or Gemstone Dragons, because there's one coming up in the campaign very soon.
Look at you and me keeping secrets.
I mean, this secret has already been known to them, the party. But anyways, to make them feel, because
Gemcloak is a Gemstone Dragon?
Wow.
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 To make them feel more alien than regular chromatic or metallic dragons, there's easy ways that I think you can do that. One is isolation. Is if they're in a place that's so isolated from the world, they don't even know what's going on. And like when you meet them, they're so aloof and like kind of like just weird mannerisms, and like it already feels alien at that point, because you're like, didn't you hear what's going on? And they're like, no man, I'm in my own world. And also you can like surround their entire place with just magic. Crazy shit. Also putting them on other planes of existence, like, or their own plane of existence, like where to get to them, you go through a portal and you go into their lair that's just a whole crystal plane of existence.
Yeah, it's like they're so powerful that they can carve out their own pocket in the multiverse that's their own pocket dimension.
Yeah.
Oh, love that.
Even with that, like with all the magical effects you could do with these psionic creatures, is like when the party's getting towards them or getting near this entity, it can talk to them without them even seeing, right? So like with like other dragons, you'd probably play it off as like the dragon's like hiding in the shadows, and you can hear it echoing throughout the cave or whatever. With the gem dragon, they could just be chilling anywhere in their lair or anywhere in their space, and they can talk to the party through their mind, and just using that to your advantage to make it feel more alien and feel more different, making the dragon feel more different. Also appearances too. Like if you see a crystal dragon and its wings aren't actually connected to its body and they're just floating there with some of the illustrations that you see, and their horns are just kind of floating there.
Yo, what about you walk in to a chamber, massive chamber full of amethyst, and then one of the amethysts opens its eye.
Dragon.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, that thing is somewhere on the ceiling.
Oh god.
But
I could imagine with like a crystal dragon, it's like a they have them in haunted houses and in circuses, but like the mirror mazes, where like that's what the party, you just see hundreds of crystal dragons all around you. Of eyes, just the eyes just surrounding you, is like you're not sure if it's next to you or if it's like 300 feet away because of the way the mirrors are, or the crystals are reflective.
Appearance is also one of the main things you can do to make them feel alien. Like if just when you think of a dragon's eye, right? Like everyone has that picture of a dragon's eye. Even though it's fantasy, like the slit with the black down the center and like kind of like the yellowish. You could make a crystal dragon's eye, just to make it more alien, look like a diamond inside. Like how it's like all of these like crystals that are carved inside that like make the iris or whatever. Like all of these things you can do with them, because they're otherworldly. They're still worldly, but like they're so different when it comes to, things like that. Also,
I think there's some things you could do with mannerisms that I think would be really useful. Like this is kind of just a thing I have done for other monsters that I think could apply here, which is just in a space where a normal entity that is socialized the way humans are would normally say a filler sentence or reply or give you some sort of assurance that they just heard and comprehended what you said, this creature feels no need to do that. Or just like pauses that are a lot longer than you would anticipate, or reactions that don't make much sense. Like you tell them that like a relative of yours died and that's part of the reason you're here, and they make a noise that sounds a little bit like a sigh, but also kind of like a laugh. And you just don't, and you kind of want to be mad, but you're also like, this is a 4,000-year-old alien. Like, I don't know
what is that?
I don't know how it processes,
Yeah, I mean, Matthew Colville says something really interesting about Dragonborn that, Evelyn, I know you and I both really love whenever it comes up, is the way that he says Dragonborn should sound. Because he's like, look at their jaws. They should talk like this and enunciate everything, and you should move your mouth a lot. Like, you could do something like that for an ancient gemstone dragon. And I think that the thing is, the party might like, and this is the thing about players, right? They're going to react a certain way when you start doing that. But I think it's all about establishing tone and then sticking to your guns, right? If you start going like this and over enunciating everything, and your players laugh, just push through and just be serious. I think that's a big thing, especially with being such like all-encompassing creatures, is just committing to it. I think can help.
And honestly,
help the tone.
Just good side tip, if you're trying to come up with a monster voice for anything fantasy related, just look at the shape of its mouth. Like, it's not a human, so just look at the shape of its mouth. I know when I did the Belhaneth in Silent Shields last time, that thing is literally just like a hanging worm-like mouth with no face. So, and it was kind of disguised for a while and talking sort of like a human, but it was obviously not quite right. But obviously its voice was just going to be very toothy and airy and, not human in any way.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's as simple as that. Is you just look at the shape of that creature's mouth and face, and you're like, what sound would actually fit in that mouth? You know.
Also, talking with ancient dragons, specifically gem dragons, if you make it the isolationist and they're off in their own world kind of thing, and they take on a human form, right? Which most of them, it's however you want to run it. Make that form not any race that is in the game. Just make it something that's crazy looking, but not too crazy. Like their idea of what a human would look like, but also their own aesthetic. Like if I'm a gem dragon and I want to look like a human, but like I'm in the tundra or whatever, I'm gonna give myself crazy blue skin or something like that, and have like a crown that like kind of floats and stuff like that matches nothing that anybody would have seen before.
Yeah. That's a really interesting question about the dragon humanoid form, is like, why is it making it? Because I think with a lot of them, the assumption is that they're trying to blend in some way. But I do think you kind of, what you just said opened the door in my mind for the first time of like, well, maybe that's not what they're using that for. Maybe there's some, maybe they're just expressing a part of themselves that doesn't get expressed in dragon form, or maybe they are trying to create the most beautiful humanoid possible.
Also, maybe they're trying to save space.
Yeah, maybe
they're minimalists. Yeah.
Yeah, they just bought a new place with their wife, and they are like, you know what? I'm gonna do this as a gnome. Well, it'll be really economic.
I mean, on a less humorous note, maybe they've been a dragon so long that they're just like, I just want to change.
I want to try something. Gemma said, if you really want to make them horrifying, at least that's how I interpret this. Verbatim, she said, make them the equivalent of medieval artists trying to depict animals they've never seen. Which that's horrifying. Like,
or hilarious. Yeah.
Just every dragon now is a medieval cat. If you don't follow medieval cats on Reddit, you're wrong. It's my
medieval
favorite.
Cats is great.
It's a good one.
Really is. It's really insane to think about a world before, like, cross-culturing and photography and stuff like that. Like, I've just never seen a cat. Like, that's crazy to me.
It is wild.
So, since we're still on the topic of dragons, and because this book now exists,
is only dragons,
Yeah, they decided, I'm sure you guys know about these, but they decided, you know what, ancient dragons aren't enough. Let's make great worms.
Oh, yeah.
And make these fucking gargantuan pieces of shit that kill everything.
I love worm with a Y. It's my favorite type of monster.
It just sounds cool.
It is.
If you say dragon, it's scary. If you call this thing, if you describe this thing as a great worm, that's just like, oh, fuck. What does that mean? What do you mean, great worm? And then, on top of that, they decided to basically stat Tiamat and Bahamut as aspects.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
And my question to the two of you is, have you ever wanted to try and use Tiamat in your games? And if you did, what would you do with her? Like, how would you present her into your world?
Yeah, that's rough.
Tiamat, that's a final campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have used gods before that have stat blocks, and so far in every campaign I've ever run, it has been negotiation only. Like, the thought of combat was just off the table. I had a level 12 party negotiate with Yenogu. Like, alone in Yenogu's domain. And it was basically like sort of a Ko from Avatar situation.
Yeah.
Where it was like, since you're in his lair, if you do a single thing or even think a single thought that he doesn't like, he'll just eat you.
Yeah.
Like you're
Yeah, insta kill,
And so like, yeah, and he's only Yanogu, I think, is only CR 24 or something.
Yeah,
and
20
Tiamat is
30.
more, obviously.
Yeah. At least the aspect of Tiamat.
Yeah, the aspect of Tiamat, these aspects are basically their avatar form.
Mm-hmm.
Because these things can't really die unless, you do that in your game. Unless you're actually killing off the gods.
Yeah, because... sorry, go ahead, John.
Well, the aspects are just meant to say, okay, here's Tiamat, but like a shittier version of actual Tiamat that you can actually fight and possibly win against.
Yeah, because I think that, like, the prospect of killing a god in your game is really cool. But it has to be done in a way that is extremely careful, so you don't devalue the existence of those deities later in any future campaigns you may run. Unless you're one of those people that just kind of changes up worlds every game. That's also cool. But it's something that I've thought a lot about, considering that, I keep the same world campaign to campaign to campaign, letting the players' choices inform them. And that's why I made the decision a long time ago to be like, yeah, the gods are just people that are extremely powerful with an incredible wealth of knowledge and power, more so than what you can achieve in a character sheet. Because then it makes killing a god attainable, but still has them be very powerful. I actually don't think anybody's ever killed a god permanently. Like Asmodeus, that poor guy, he's had his ass beat at least 3 times, but he is persistent.
He keeps coming back.
Yeah. The last time it was more of a narrative thing as opposed to anything else. But it's difficult, especially with Tiamat. Like, I feel like it has to be kind of what the module is, right? The Rise of Tiamat and the Horde of the Dragon Queen, where it's cultists trying to summon Tiamat, or that aspect. And then it's like, well, the party does that. They stop the cult. But then, of course, the cult's just going to come back. So what's the next logical step? Time to go to the 9 hells and let's try and finish this. But fighting it, you have to give the party magical boons and items that are specifically meant for that. I've made it very clear in my campaigns that the Forsaken have to be killed with balefire, or else they don't die. They'll just come back. Right? And it needs to be something similar to that. Because to say that somebody's +3 Holy Avenger could kill Tiamat, that seems silly, Yeah. Regardless of how many hit points she has, like, for her to die permanently, it needs to be a process.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, you're touching on kind of like a writing 101 thing, which is just, why hasn't your story already happened?
Yeah.
You have to have an answer for that. And you're right, if like a solid plucky party of level 18s can just go kill one of the most powerful beings to ever exist in all of time, then like, well, why hasn't that happened? There's clearly been level 18 parties before. Like, this is not the first one,
If you're gonna kill a god, it has to be something, especially Tiamat, it has to be something that's set up from like session 5. And in like a 100 session campaign, that there's a thing that could maybe kill a god, and then it's broken up into 5 pieces, and it's something that all of them have to wield together, because it would also suck to be the party members that didn't land the killing blow. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be really cool for the person that did kill Tiamat, but then it's like, oh, I hit Tiamat with a 7th level lightning bolt. I did some good damage. Like, that sucks.
I will say there's I'm thinking about the tiers of play, which is like an element of D&D that I don't hear anyone fucking talk about ever, but I think about it all the time when I'm like making a campaign. Levels 1 through 4, you save a village. Levels 5 through 10, you save a city. Levels 11 through 16, you save the world. Level 17 to 20, you save the multiverse. Like, that's kind of like the guide.
We skipped a couple of those.
but that's the thing, is you can layer your campaign that way, right? So like in Salamander Coast, we hit level 4, and then at level 4 we went to that like Dark One hideout, and we killed Daku. At least that's what it seemed like we did at the time. Who knows? But we killed Daku, and that was like, cool, you did tier 1. You explored this little part of the world, you found one Dark One cultist bad guy, and you killed him. And then we hit level 5, and we were introduced harshly to like, okay, here's tier 2, here's tier 3, and here's tier 4. Like, here's everything you're up against now. Good luck. And then at level 5, we were thrust out into the world, and we were fighting level 5 shit. We were running away from level 10 shit, and we were going forward with the knowledge that we'd eventually have to face level 20 shit, you know? And I love the layering of that. I think if you ever do Tiamat, I think you have to, that's got to be layered in from the very beginning, and there needs to be tiers that you ascend to for that to even be like a possibility, I think.
What the fuck is happening in chat right now?
I don't know what's going on in chat.
Gemma and Felicity keep talking about nudes, and I'm uncomfortable.
Okay.
I think that with Tiamat, I mean, it's a creature that I would love to like play, right, as a DM and like be, right? I wouldn't throw a party at Tiamat. I think the way I would use Tiamat in a game, which would probably an entire campaign, like the campaign would be set around, I guess, the rise of Tiamat, which is already a module. But basically, you could create a whole campaign or second half of the campaign where each chromatic dragon, ancient dragons, come up and they're trying to release Tiamat, and maybe they do, and there's something happening with the metallics, and basically the metallics release an aspect of Bahamut, and the chromatics release an aspect of Tiamat. And while they're fighting, the party has to go off and defeat the chromatic ancient dragons to give Bahamut a bigger advantage in the fight against Tiamat. So like the whole world is like it's these two massive dragons fighting.
That's a cool idea. You have to like assemble the dragons.
Yeah,
you know,
it's basically the Avengers for dragons.
And the party is Nick Fury.
Yes.
That sounds like a lot of fun, though. Like
that's really cool.
Imagine it's like the apocalypse, and it's literally the aspects of Bahamut and Tiamat are like the only two gods that are left, and they're wreaking havoc on the material plane. And it's like, does my city get destroyed today? I don't know. I hope not. That would fucking suck.
It could be, you could tear it down. You could have Tiamat and Bahamut aspects, ancient dragons on each side. You could have the crystal dragons as the neutral versions, and then you could also have dragonborns like in there that worship Tiamat and that worship Bahamut. Like this whole like
you could
look.
Yeah, and as long as we're talking about layering, I would like to point out that the 4 tiers are already so perfectly baked into every dragon, because there's the wormling, then there's the young, then there's the adult, and then there's the ancient. And
then the great worm.
Yeah, so baked in, you already have the 4 tiers. I will also say, potential 5th tier. I would like to just toss the idea out there. This was introduced to me a few years ago, and I really like the concept of it. It's called something like prestige leveling.
Yeah.
And I remember reading a thing
God levels, right?
Yeah, and somebody actually like made stats for it.
Yeah.
I don't know how well those play test, but I also don't know how much that matters once you're over level 20. You know, I don't know if that's the point anymore, but I feel like I love the idea of 20 in both your 6 ability scores and in your level. That is the absolute pinnacle of what a mortal can do.
Yeah.
And there's 21 plus, which is what you can do when you are in some way no longer a mortal being. Like, you've gone beyond mortal. I'm really
gods the entire
I'm a big fan of that idea. I feel like, you know, and I don't know how you've statted Odin, Joe, but I feel like an example of that is like Odin is not a level 20 whatever. I feel like he's like ascended, you know. If anything, he's like roughly level 26 or 27. And when I made Lady Melina in the Rising Ash campaign, that's another character that I was like, is something backstory. Paylor and this lady have a thing going on where, like, she has been given beyond mortal power in order to come back from the grave.
We're being threatened in the chat.
I was just going to ignore it because we do not
I'm
make
sorry.
deals with terrorists.
Sorry.
This is... What is going on in here? Oh my god!
I think so. To sum up with dragons,
I'm a huge nudes fan. Phil, I'm gonna quote you on that.
Uh,
Ursa will.
yeah, what will Ursa do? We're still trying to figure out what she's gonna do. Dragons, they made a whole fucking book on just dragons. Everybody, dragons have so much utility and can be used throughout D&D. I'm gonna stop talking about dragons. I'm gonna stop. Chat's going crazy. Well, it's just Gemma and Felicity.
It's two people going insane.
There's two boggles in the chat.
Two boggles in the chat.
Oh man.
This is to sum up. Say dragons, fucking dope. They're just a cool creature, and you can do a lot with them. I'm gonna ask a question to each of you, and to chat, who will stop talking about whatever they're talking about. Chat, what kind of dragon do you think you are? Joe, Evelyn, what kind of dragon do you think you are?
I think I'm a color changing dragon. I'm just so flexible and so diverse in my colors.
All right.
I'm an ancient red dragon.
I am the silver one, I think. For sure.
I think I'm most likely a copper dragon.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I think that all checks out.
Copper or I definitely think I'm more metallic than I am chromatic.
All right. Now here's a dragon question, real quick, unless we want to talk about that a little bit more. But all dragons in some way are like collectors of something.
Ooh, yeah.
Which I think is a really cool theme that they wrote into all the dragons, is that they're all like, they all hit a point, at least the ancient ones, they all hit a point where they're like, well, what else is there to do but like have a room full of cool shit,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they all have a very different flavor of that. What do you think is the most evil dragon? Because I think, the ancient red dragon is the classic, and it's like the most traditionally evil. But I gotta tell you, I'm a really big fan of the ancient green dragon.
Ooh, yeah, green are pretty gnarly.
And green, other than the poison thing and like completely fucking up whatever terrain they're living in, and just like corrupting and decaying all of the wildlife in that area. What they collect is lesser creatures.
Oh, yeah.
Which is so fucked up. They trick non-intelligent creatures, basically like with a Stockholm Syndrome abuse situation, and they treat them like possessions. I think that's the most evil dragon in the book. And man, imagine negotiating with a green dragon.
Yeah.
Man, that's my answer. I asked the question because I had an answer.
John, do you have one at the top of your head? Because I do have a one.
I mean, green dragons, it's pretty gnarly. Yeah, you go.
Okay. I think green dragons are pretty gnarly. I think that while green dragons might be the most evil from our perspective, I think that one dragon that I'd really like to fight, because I think that for a certain type of character it could be the most evil, are black dragons. Because black dragons, what they end up doing is they end up creating like undead, where they're like the necromancer dragons. And one of their regional effects is, I'm pretty sure it's like within a 10 or 6 mile radius, whatever it is, they cause everybody living there for more than a year to just be filled with unending despair and sadness and a broken heart all the time. Like, imagine a dragon just like burrows itself into a swamp, and all of the villages in that swamp just they get chronic depression. And the dragon could leave and fix that. Yeah. And then on top of that, they just were living their lives. Now they have depression, and undead infest their swamp. And it's not like they can just go, they can go swamp fishing, because if they do, they could throw their fucking reel out and they could just get a skeleton crawling into their boat. Like, I think that is pretty interesting. And also black dragons, I'm pretty sure they hate seeing weak people thrive. Like, so I could see a really interesting conversation happening between a black dragon and a party, where the black dragon, the party comes to him and is like, hey, you have to leave these people. Like, they're dying with your influence here. And the black dragon's like, okay, yeah, I can do that. But you need to find an overlord to break their will and to manage them in my stead, because they're weak and they deserve to be ruled. They haven't earned the right to lead themselves. So either prove to me that they can stand up for themselves and they're not weak, or find a different overlord, or I'll just stay. And like, then it's like, okay, well, we don't want to fight a dragon, and we don't want to fight an evil overlord. So like, we don't want to find that and make life potentially worse for these people. So let's try and rally the people and try and teach these swamp men and women and these swamp peoples how to fend for themselves and how to fight. And how to earn that right. Like, I think that is really cool.
I think what's interesting too is we're talking about this more. There's this really cool element of a dragon that I think is very engaging and has the potential to be satisfying eventually, but you also need to be careful with, which is like, how much is that dragon gonna leverage the fact that it knows the party can't fight it?
Yeah.
Because you can really, you can do it too much, and it could just get not fun. But
it can be demeaning.
Yeah, but I also think that is a wonderful, as a DM, you need to know the line between just being frustrating and setting up a payoff later. And I feel like this is one of those things where that line, it gets a little tricky, but the payoff has the potential to be amazing. Of like, having to go along and avoid the watchful eye of a dragon until you have all the pieces lined up. And like, so, to kind of trick and get the best of such an intelligent and ancient creature is incredible if you pull that off. And like, if the party, because all these dragons have deep flaws that they have developed over the course of thousands of years. And I feel like, the satisfaction of being like, we cannot disobey this dragon right now, but we can figure out how to play them, and then eventually get under their skin and have a plan. Actually get them.
That could be really cool. Like, it's a research element, right? What is the dragon's weakness? Like, we can look up history. Dragons are common creatures. Like, how have other dragons been felled? And then, you get to do some lore exploration. And I know I have players that really, really love lore dumping and researching lore. Gemma. And that's like the reason they come to the table is because they just want more lore. And I think every table has at least one player like that. So that's a fun way to give that player something. And you get to talk about dragons more. Which who doesn't love that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck
good.
yeah.
I have my dragon.
You have your dragon?
You have your evil dragon.
It's probably the most evil dragon.
All right. Let's hear it.
The Elder Brain Dragon.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Basically, its whole thing is to put little tadpoles in your head, and then eventually you turn into a mind flayer. So basically, take over the entire world.
Everything. Yeah.
And turn everything into mind flayers.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it gets more evil than that.
Pretty awful.
Yeah, you're
I
just alien.
I love that creature too, because they were like, it really feels like they rolled dice. They were like, all right, we got a table of all of our big bad monsters.
Yeah.
We're just gonna start rolling some combos. We're gonna see what we get.
We got Dragon and Illithid. All right.
Yeah, they were like Elder Brain, that's cool, but like it doesn't move and it's like really easy to get around.
Yeah.
Like, how do we make this thing move? We put it on the back of a dragon.
That's fucked. I love it though. That John, you win. This wasn't a competition, but you won.
I also want to point out, I didn't know it had this. It has a legendary action that if it's grappling a creature and that creature is concentrating, it can use 2 legendary actions to instantly stop your concentration. Your concentration just fails, and you take psychic damage. Like
what a fuck you.
Brutal. That's
see. I thought you were gonna say that it could do the smash and gulp thing that Illithid can do, where if they grapple you, they can just and they can just suck your brain out.
I don't think it actually can, but its breath weapon is just tadpoles.
Oh
yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking gross. It's called. Hold on. Look. I have the book right here. Tadpole brine breath.
Brine breath.
It basically infects you. You take psychic damage, it infects you. And then if over time, if you don't get the infection cured, which apparently if a creature is targeted by magic that ends curse or restores 40 hit points or more. So you either have to remove a curse or restore 40 hit points in one turn.
Damn.
If they're reduced to 0, they remain unconscious for 6d12 hours, and then when they're not unconscious anymore, they transform them into a mind flayer.
Oh,
and the only way to get them back is to cast the wisp spell. So, yeah.
It's also one of those 0 equals dead monsters.
Yeah.
But like over time,
right?
Like,
yeah.
Even if you beat the Elder Brain Dragon, if you failed on your success or on your save.
Yeah.
Over time, they're just gonna turn into a mind flayer.
God damn.
I think you win. I think that's the most evil one.
That's crazy.
Sure.
I like dragons, guys.
Dragons are pretty cool. Just as a quick sidebar, can Warforged get tadpoled?
If they're a construct, they can't. So I don't think. Well, are Warforged considered a construct? They can't be tadpoled if they're undead or constructs. So I think that depends on the DM at the table. If they want to say that Warforged are constructs.
Yeah, it depends on your world, I guess. Because they're a very world-specific kind of thing.
And also some Warforged are have a lot of human parts underneath the metal exterior.
Yeah, almost like cyborgs.
Yeah, that's the thing with Warforged I've noticed is you look at Warforged character art and there's a spectrum of metal dude and robot. You know?
I mean, but who doesn't want to play a robot? We're at the hour 30 mark,
and
I will say this. We've talked a little bit about the social element of dragons, so I have another thing that we can throw around the table. I really like the idea of pretty much every ancient dragon in the world knowing each other. Because they've been around so long. I love the idea of it being its own culture group that's exists in the world. And once you start doing a campaign where dragons are involved, you can kind of tap into that if you would like. So all that being said, what do you guys think are some fun social challenges or social encounter ideas between dragons? Past feuds, old friends, rivals, having a dragon tell you need to go get more information from this other dragon and it's 1,000 miles away.
I think that something that would be really interesting is specifically with chromatic dragons that would be more inclined to ancient dragons, they don't really want to fight, if they don't have to. So, right, you're just kind of playing the political gauntlet here. And they just start gossiping. And right, you try and get on the dragon's good side, so that way it gives you more information. I think that's a deceitful social encounter like that would be really cool, where it's like, we know this dragon has the information we need. We need to bring it gifts, and we need to make it seem like we're friends. And then it'll drink enough wine, and it'll just start gossiping with us about the other ancient dragons, so we can talk to the blue dragon in order to get more information, get what we need, so that we can figure out how to kill the red dragon. I think that's really fun. To like a deceitful social encounter like that, fake friends.
I think one thing that you can do as well is I have to be careful what I say.
Oh.
Because as a person who loves dragons, obviously has spread dragons throughout their world.
Yeah.
I like the idea that ancient dragons as civilization, depending on what time period you're putting your campaign at, ancient dragons could technically not exist anymore. Like if you look at like Game of Thrones, right? Dragons did exist.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't anymore, and then they come back, right? Or I guess Lord of the Rings as well, right? Lord of the Rings, they before, with the Hobbit they existed, and then they didn't. You could use that to your advantage, that they don't exist anymore, right? They are thought to be killed off, but they've actually seeded themselves so deep within society because they can change into humans and other races that no one knows they exist anymore, but they exist quite heavily and have actually built the world around everybody.
Alternatively, I ran a campaign a few years ago where the dragons mostly left. So like, and it ended up being that the party, there was like this ancient lore of like, the reason beholders exist is because the dwarves used to be like the biggest kingdom ever, and there used to be a lot more dragons around, and the dragons and the dwarves worked together to like make beholders, and then it got out of hand, and the dwarf kingdom died, and the dragons mostly left. Because they were like, fuck this, we're just gonna go to a different continent. Like we messed this one up.
This kind of sucked. Let's go somewhere else.
They were basically like the sort of like, this idea that floats around in our world now of like, eventually we might just mess up Earth and we'll just go to another planet. They had like that level of detachment. And so like part of the campaign is there was like 10 dragons at most left on the continent. But they had to get to the island where all the other ones flew away, where there was like 500 of them. And they got there, and then they had to convince the dragons to come back. And that was very difficult. Because they were just chilling out on like a Feywild island. Like, that was 800 years ago, and we've had a blast since then. Like, honestly, I don't know why we worried about all you humanoids, because anytime we tried to help, you guys fucked it up. Like, we're just chilling over here. As I think that's a cool thing you can do with the timeline as well. Because I do think, like, there are certain creatures, and the dragon is the easiest one to do with, to, like, have a huge history with them. And, like, be this creature that is, like, in stories, or used to be around more, or something like that. I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah. No, I do really love that. And I love... just something that we've already talked about quite a bit is how alien the dragons can be in terms of their approach, So I think that doing things like that just make them feel more alien and more distant, and not just like humans with a breath attack, or humans with a deep gravelly voice. Like, it makes them feel like a genuinely different creature, Which I think is the most important thing, is making it feel different when they do eventually come up in your campaigns. Hell yeah, dude.
I agree.
All right, we're at hour 37, approaching hour 38. I feel like at this point it'd be silly to stop talking about dragons and do something else.
Yeah.
So,
and
I think we did it. Dragon episode. We'll have to talk about other shit next Monday.
And we can do that. Believe it or not, there are a lot of topics that you can talk about in D&D.
I think there's more than 3 even.
We're gonna have to wait until episode 4 to see if that happens, though.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't know if I believe you.
Yeah. No, I get it, but I have faith.
But
yeah.
Before we, I suppose, before we head off, we'll open it one last time for any questions, whether they be dragon related or otherwise. I suppose I'll ask one more question to all of you. If you were to offer one piece of advice for running dragons in a campaign, whether it be gemstone, metallic, or chromatic, what would be that piece of advice that you would give to somebody? Like, hey, if you're going to do this, just keep this one thing in mind.
3 pillars, I'd say. I feel like yeah, that's the most concise thing I can say, and we know me, so I'll keep to that. But I think, the dragon is a creature that warrants to be engaged with in all 3 pillars. You should have to find them and learn about them. You should have to socialize with them, or even gather allies in some way. And then obviously combat. And the combat should be incredibly rigorous. Like, I really don't think, even a young dragon, it shouldn't be easy to kill at all. And it should have a layer. There should be phases. It should probably have some form of minion, all that stuff. So yeah, that'd be my main thing. Just 3 pillars. You can very easily make an arc or a campaign where you have to engage with all 3 of those thoroughly in order to actually defeat the enemy.
Yeah.
Mine would be make them intelligent. Other than an ancient white dragon who's not intelligent.
They're like they're the feral ones, which I really like.
They're the Unga Bunga ones, which I
feel like that's a fun flavor. That they're just the ones that you just
throw at the party and be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna kill you," and it's not gonna care. No, just play them intelligently. They're especially if they're ancient. They've been in your world for 1,000+ years. They know shit unless you've created them as an isolationist. So, allow yourself to play the dragon as something that knows it's powerful, knows it's strong, and knows it's intelligent, and thinks of itself very, very highly.
That's very interesting. Yeah. I would say the only other piece of advice I could give would be whenever you go to role play the dragon and you try and embrace that weirdness or that alien nature, don't backpedal just because your players find it funny at first. Because when we as humans are uncomfortable, or I almost said that like I wasn't one. When humans are uncomfortable, they'll...
Yeah, speaking of dragons.
When people are uncomfortable, they tend to laugh, right? They don't know how to interpret what they're seeing, so they just laugh in response, right? But then if you commit to it, I think that not only does it lend itself to your ability as a DM to stick to your guns, but also it helps solidify the seriousness of the situation and the alien nature of this creature, especially if they're ancient, right? Maybe if they're young, you can have them be kind of similar to humans, but still different, and commit to that. Commit to the weirdness that dragons can be. Cool.
Yeah, it's good advice in general. Just,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're setting the tone for real.
Yeah.
So, all right. That's pretty much about it. We do have one final question right before we go, which is Fel asking, what kind of dragons are the 3 salamanders of the coast? Are they dragons, Joe?
Kind of.
Or are they dragonoid?
They're in the monster manual, they would be classified as dragons. But they are dragons in the same way that a great worm would be a dragon, where these creatures are They're like gemstone great worms. They are far more than just masters of the elements in their domains. They are the masters of the universe. And we'll leave it at that, because you still have yet to meet 2 of the 3 salamanders of the Salamander Coast.
We heard one of them.
You did. Yeah.
Yeah. We heard a boom.
Yeah, that one I can say was a sapphire great worm. So that's I enjoy that one. And the other 2.
Belle likes that. She says, ooh, worms, wiggles,
squiggles. Wiggles,
okay,
squiggles.
Perfect.
Dragons. Okay. So
I think we did it, squad.
That is episode 2 of DM Roundtable. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. If you're watching on Twitch, don't forget to follow. If you're watching on YouTube, do not forget to like and subscribe, comment. If you have a piece of advice or a dragon that you've run in one of your campaigns that you really enjoyed, because dragons are a lot of fun to run and they're a lot of fun to play. And if you are watching right now and you have friends that are into D&D, share this with them, because especially DMs, I know when I first started DMing, I would literally watch endless hours of people talking about D&D just so I could absorb as much as I could. So if you know people that are getting into D&D, send this their way. Hopefully they'll enjoy us dicking around for an hour and 40 minutes where we plan. I want the record to show everybody was like, well, we should have multiple monsters because I feel like we'll run out of stuff to talk about. And we talked about dragons for an hour and a half.
I want the record to show that Joe said, you know what, let's just talk about dragons. We were prepared to move on.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny how things happen when I force them to. That's really really funny.
I'm not mad about it. Dragons are my favorite monster, so.
I want the record to show that I don't think anyone is a boggle. Okay? That's what I want.
And on that note, thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you on Tuesday for the continuation of the Adventures of the Salamander Coast. Next Sunday or Saturday, Evelyn, for the next Silent Shield one-shot.
Yeah, Silent Shield episode 7. I'm going to be doing Saturday in lieu of Isles of Averion while you and Kayla get a house or some adult thing like that.
Yeah, we move, we paint, we floor, we stove, and we're very excited to do it. So with that, thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Boy!